Okay, when we complete squares, we are basically moving or changing the quadratic expression that is just in the general form of x squared plus bx plus c into a form of a into x plus p squared, let's say plus q. Remember, these plus signs could also be negative signs, okay? So if we are able to do this, then we've completed the squares. Now, the importance of this format will be seen under the topic called functions, okay? When you're dealing with the parabolas or the quadratic functions. So this approach is what we call the turning point method or the turning point approach, where P and Q will represent the coordinates of the turning point. So it can be a maximum if our A is less than 0. And then PQ will be a minimum if our A is greater than 0, okay? Now remember, the sign of the P will always switch to suit that. Okay, so that is something which is more like an application of the completed squares, okay? Besides the parabola, it could also be used under the equation of a circle or the circle geometry. When we are trying to determine, let's say, the center points and so on and so forth, we can also use completing squares as a route, okay? So step number one, we always make sure that our A is a 1, so we can make this A 1 only if we can, let's say, factorize out whatever we have. So remember, this is an expression. There are no equal signs, so we can hardly do the division. If the equal signs are there, we can well and good go ahead and do the division. Then 2, we shall have to determine the half of B. So in other words, whatever will be left here after taking out the A, or after making A1, whatever will be left, we must get a half of it. And then after getting that half of it, we need to square it. All right, so let's see. We have an example here. We have x squared plus 4x plus 6, and then they want us to complete the squares with this. So I'm going to start with the long approach, and then I'll end up with the long one, the short one. So in this case, we know that our A here is a 1, which is in a perfect condition for us to do and go ahead with the next step, okay? So the next step will be for me to get a half of this B. So a half of 4 is going to be 2, okay? And then I'm going to have to square the 2 and then leave it like that. Then come and introduce this 2 squared into this expression. So the introduction will be in a way that I'm going to have a plus and a minus of the same thing so that it doesn't necessarily cause any changes, okay? So that will be x squared plus 4x. I'll say plus the 2 squared, okay? And then I'm having my plus 6 and then minus the 2 squared. So I introduce the squared and then I also introduce that with a negative sign. Then what I will observe is that the first 3 terms will form some sort of a quadratic, which is like a perfect square quadratic. So if I move backwards into the brackets of factorizing, I'll end up with x plus 2 squared. Okay, when I open this up, it should take me back there to those first 3 terms. Then plus, what is 6 minus 4? It gives me a 2. Now this becomes my final answer after completing the squares. So the shortcut to this is simple, okay? For as long as the A is 1, then just go ahead and open the brackets. Let's put the x there, and let's look for a b. The b is 4. Then a half of 4 is going to be a 2. We keep the sign that is next to the b, so that is a plus, and then we square that. Let's bring this c part, so it's going to be a plus 6, and then we just have to minus this half b squared. Okay, so we shall just have x plus 2 squared, and then that is going to be a plus 2. So I'm going to be using just this short approach in the next examples. Okay, so that is part A. Then part B, we have this, so we can see that the A is already 1, so there's nothing much I can do there. Only thing I need to get is the half of B. So I'll open my brackets. Remember, I said X, a half of B is going to be a 2. I'll use the sign that is in front of the B, and then I'll square that. Then I'll take the 10, so plus 10, and then I'll minus a half of 4 squared, which is that. Okay, simplifying that into the last step, that's X minus 2 squared plus, that's 10 minus 4, which is a 6. This is our final answer of the completed square. So if you try to open these brackets, you should be able to get back there. Okay, it's just another format of rewriting the quadratic expressions. All right, part C with the A being a 3. Okay, so step number 1, we said we need to make this a 1. So we can do the factorization. Take out the 3. We shall be left with x squared plus, that's going to be 4x. And then plus 18 divided by is going to be a 6. Okay. Then let me just switch that. I'll have a 3. And then I'll have the square brackets. Okay. So x, then a half of 4 is going to be a 2. And then I'll maintain the sign, and then I'll square that. Why did I put this bracket? Okay. Then I'll have my 6 minus the 2 squared. I'll close the square bracket. Then 3 open brackets. We have x plus 2 squared. This is 6 minus 4, which is a 2. Okay. And then I'll open up the square bracket with a 3. So 3 into x plus 2 squared, and then plus 6. So this becomes our final answer. Okay, so after taking out the 3, we always have to reintroduce it back within the final step. All right, number 4. So number 4, we can still see that the A is a negative 2. Okay. All right, then option D, the A is a negative 2. So what I'm going to do, just factorize out the negative 2. We're going to be left with x squared minus a 10x, and then plus, it's going to be a 32. Ne? Yeah, it's going to be a 32. All right, the negative 2 into, instead we open the curly bracket, so that's going to be x. A half of 10 is a 5, keep the sign, we square that. Then plus, that's going to be 32 minus, that's going to be 5 squared. We close that. Then we shall have our negative 2, open brackets, x minus 5 squared. What is 32 minus 25? That should give us something like a 7 positive. And then what is left is now for us to reintroduce the negative 2 back, okay? So this should be negative 2 into x minus 5 squared. Negative 2 times 7, we have negative 14. And then that becomes our final answer. All right, so that is that with the completing squares. If there is any question, please, you can slot it under the comment section. Yeah, feel free to subscribe so that you can get new updates, okay? New videos and get notifications. Thank you.